I wish I was lying. I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I've seen this picture circling around social media. I've been tagged in one too many posts. I was tagged again last night by you know who you are. At first glance, I saw the picture. Don't know what's going on in the picture, but I thought it's none of my business. Unfortunately for me, and now probably unfortunately for you, I looked it up. And now we have to talk about it. Dylan Redwine was born in 1999, and that has a little bit of a soft spot for me because I was born in 99, so he would have been my age. But unfortunately, his life was taken at the age of 13 at the hands of his own father in November 2012 in Colorado. Redwine family was made up of the mother Elaine, the dad Mark Redwine, the older brother Corey, and little brother Dylan. Dylan also had two half-siblings from the father's previous marriage. Dylan and Corey were really close. They had a really good relationship. Corey was someone that Dylan could look up to. Good role model, but also a good friend. Dylan has been described as a happy boy that loved to play baseball and hang out with his friends. After being together for 18 years, Elaine and Mark, the parents, decide to get a divorce in 2005. The divorce was messy. It was tough not only on the parents but on the kids. Dylan and Corey live with the mom full time. They do visit Mark on occasion because he did have visitation rights. The boys did not have a good relationship with the dad. I think it was because the divorce was so messy and they didn't like the way that Mark was treating their mom. They were far, far away from any sort of fatherly son relationship. In June of 2011, Dylan is 13 at the time, Corey is 18. They go on a road trip with their father Mark. On this trip, Dylan was on his dad's laptop and he found some very disturbing images. Dylan takes the laptop and he sneaks over to the bathroom and signals Corey to go inside. So he goes inside, they lock the door. Dylan is going to show Corey the images that he found. So he does. And these images, I mean, they made me gag. The pictures are of the father. He is wearing makeup, he's wearing a wig and a red bra, and he is eating what is human feces out of a diaper. Yeah. You heard me right. Corey, the older brother, takes out his phone, takes pictures of the laptop, and then the boys put the laptop back, put everything back, and just go to sleep. Ever since seeing those pictures, that obviously created more distance between the boys and the dad. They were weirded out. They thought it was disgusting, and they wanted nothing to do with it. So Dylan is still living with his mom and Corey in Colorado Springs, but November 2012, he has to go stay with his dad for Thanksgiving. It's a court order. He doesn't want to at all, but he kind of has no choice. November 18th, Dylan takes a flight to go see his dad in Durango, Colorado. When he lands, he texts his mom that he's landed with a sad face, and his mom responds that she's really proud of him and says, "I miss you already, but try and have fun." The very next day, November 19th, Elaine is at work. She gets a text from Mark asking if she knows where Dylan is. But Dylan was supposed to be staying with the dad, so why is he asking Elaine? Mark had gone to the police station to let them know that he couldn't find his son. His story was that he arrived the night prior, asked if he could go sleep over at a friend's house. He said no, so Dylan just made plans to go over to his friend's house the next morning. The next morning, Mark had to run errands. Dylan slept in, so Mark just went by himself. Phone records show that Mark was texting and calling Dylan all day. Dylan never responded. Mark says he then returns home, takes a nap, wakes up, and Dylan still isn't home. Elaine is concerned. She immediately packs up the car and makes the drive from Colorado Springs to Durango with Dylan's older brother Corey and her new husband Michael. On the drive there, she texts Dylan and says, "Dylan, please be safe. Mom is here to come and get you." Remember how I said that Mark had been married prior? So the day that Dylan goes missing, the ex-wife calls the police station. She tells them about her relationship with Mark and how he was abusive. She mentions that one time in an argument, he mentioned that he would kill their kids because they had kids together as well. She also mentioned how in a different conversation one time when they were camping, he told her that if he ever needed to hide a body, he would hide it in the mountains. So the ex-wife was somewhat suspicious of Mark, but she wasn't the only one. Cody and Elaine were also very suspicious of Mark. Tensions are high. It's an incredibly high-stress situation, but the main priority remains to find Dylan. Where is Dylan? Corey decides that he needs to fill the mom in on everything, paint the full picture for her, so he tells her about the pictures that him and Dylan found. He says that a month prior, in the middle of a texting argument between him and his father Mark, he told him that they had seen the pictures. He confronted him, said that Dylan had seen them too. So this now kind of switches the narrative from a child is missing, he probably just ran away, to a child is missing and the last person that saw him could potentially be a very dangerous person. As soon as Elaine, Corey, and Michael get to Durango, they go to the police station and then they start searching for hours throughout the night. On the other hand, Mark is at home sleeping. Throughout the following days, investigators go to Mark's house to speak to him, even though for whatever reason he denied filing an actual report. He wouldn't for some reason. Obviously, he still had to communicate with them because his child is missing and he was the last person that saw him. When they go to his house, immediately his behavior, weird, strange, odd. He's not concerned, not alarmed, absolutely has no care in the world. At the house, none of Dylan's belongings are found. Phone charger, backpack, phone, all gone. The only thing that's there that could have a trace of Dylan was the pillowcase that he slept on. Searches have started to form. Mark lived really close to a national park with a lot of mountains, so investigators were doing their best to find anything helpful, but days went by with nothing. By November 29th, authorities have a search warrant, so they go to search Mark's home. 6 pieces of evidence were taken from the house that had a positive reaction to luminol, meaning they had traces of blood. They were all in the living room, most of them. 5 out of the 6 were on the couch, on the carpet, on the love seat, coffee table, and underneath the rug. February 2013, Mark does an interview where he talks about Dylan. More specifically, he talks about this beautiful relationship that they had. He says they were really close. He specifically said, "We were inseparable. Wherever I was, he was right besides me," which couldn't be farther from the truth. Mark also mentions that because him and Dylan were so close, the mom, Elaine, was very jealous because they had a bond that him and the mom could never have. So that was apparently a big problem to her, which again is a lie. February 26 and 27, Mark goes on the Dr. Phil show. I assume his intentions were to go on to clear his name. However, Elaine and Corey also go on the show. Mark and Elaine were not agreeing on anything. It was pretty obvious that they didn't get along. They were arguing pretty much. Corey flat out says that he thinks that Mark is responsible for his little brother's death. Mark is just holding on to his innocence. June 27th, 2013, on a road near the mountains near where Mark lived, a pair of headphones were found that matched Dylan's, a piece of clothing was found that matched Dylan's, a single shoe, and a sock also found that also matched Dylan's. Then, finally, partial human remains were found, tested the DNA, and were able to confirm that those remains were those of Dylan Redwine. November 1st, 2015, almost 3 years later, a hiker in the area is hiking when he runs into a human skull around 1.5 miles away from where the other human remains were found. That skull was confirmed to be Dylan's as well, and the skull had very visible blunt force trauma. Above the left eye, there was a fracture that was a little bit over 4 inches long. The cause of death was officially changed from undetermined to a homicide. And also, finally, Mark is officially named a person of interest. July 22nd, 2017, Mark is arrested in connection to Dylan's death and given a $1 million cash bond. He is charged with suspicion of second-degree murder and child assaulting and death. The indictment stated that his motive were those pictures, that Dylan had seen the pictures, he was planning on confronting his father about him, and that ended in a violent response for Mark that ended in Dylan's death. The trial kept getting pushed back. It was actually rescheduled 10 times. June 21st, 2001, the trial began. Mark pled not guilty. His defense was saying that Dylan ran away and that he was killed by an animal in the wildlife, which is honestly silly. What prosecutors believed happened was that Mark killed Dylan in his living room, decapitated him, and then got rid of his remains in the woods. They brought up the blood in the living room. They also mentioned how cadaver dogs had picked up the scent of human remains on Mark's clothing, in the back of his car in the trunk, as well as in the living room. Elaine testified, Corey testified. Those were very sad and hard to watch. Corey talked about the day that they found the pictures, and he said that that day, Dylan lost any reason to look up to Mark. July 16th, 2021, Mark Redwine was found guilty of second-degree murder and child. He was sentenced to 48 years in prison. Yeah. I don't know what it was about this one. I mean, obviously it's a very disgusting and disturbing case, but I was feeling nauseous the whole time. It's disgusting. It's sad. It should have never happened. To the girl that tagged me in the picture yesterday, now you know what happened. Anyway, thank you all so much for spending time with me today and answering our FaceTime call. I love you so much. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you. Have the best day ever.